Hey guys, here we go. It's Monday, all kinds of stuff going on. So I'm going to take questions that I didn't get and some other ones. I've been listening to a couple of people commented about my voice. And I listened to it myself. I could hear my voice got very gravelly and a little lower, stuff like that. It's a little bit about health issues. I'm not going to get into it, but there's nothing I could do about it because the sound, everything is right. It's just my voice. It's me.
How was your weekend, boss?
Good.
Quiet?
So far, huh?
It was quiet?
Quiet?
Yeah. Was it not?
No, it's not quiet.
Calm,
There's
cool,
explosions going on everywhere, all over the place. So.
It's okay. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another YouTube Live. I will just preface this by letting everybody know to please be respectful in the chat. And I know we just got started, but, everybody hit the like, subscribe, follow Sammy's platforms, Patreon, Instagram, TikTok. Are we good to go, Sterling?
Yeah. And I noticed that I do a program where I answer comments, and I got a lot of good comments from you guys. Appreciate it. I wanted to put that in. And if you want to comment to me, just send your comments in on that comment show.
Yep. Yeah, you guys can submit your questions, and we can have Sammy answer it for you on a personal reel. So, everybody's in the chat. Elgato, Janet and PA, JR, Francisco, Alstar, Phil. Hey guys. We see you all. Okay, let's start with a question from Kenneth Sponberg. Kenneth asks, what was the relationship between Benito Mussolini and Cosa Nostra? I heard they hated each other. Is this true? And if so, why?
Well, they did. It's true. I'm doing a thing about the history of the Mafia. I know all about it. I heard about it years ago before I was doing this. Mussolini made a deal with Hitler, and the Italian people didn't like it. They didn't want that. And there was a lot of problems with that. The Mafia definitely didn't like it and went against Mussolini. Mussolini put people in charge to go after the Mafia. They half-wrecked the Mafia in Italy. But that was the reason. They were dead against his relationship with Hitler. And they tried to break it up. They tried to do things. And Mussolini fought back, put people in charge to wreck the Mafia. Hundreds of guys were tortured, put in prisons. Mussolini wanted to quiet them. But the Italian people didn't want anything to do with Hitler.
Okay, the next question I have is from Redman.
Good question, matter of fact.
Yeah.
Great question.
Great question. Redman asks, Sammy, I was reading a book about Russian mobsters in the 80s from Brighton Beach and the Little Odessa area. The book was about a Russian mobster named Boris Bibba Mayfield? He also goes on to talk about a really violent Russian guy named Vladimir Resnikoff that was killed by gas pipe and the Gemini twins. Are you familiar with any of these guys or the Little Odessa area? Do you have any stories?
No, not familiar with them. I had a relationship with a Russian mafia guy myself during the gas and oil situation. He was a good guy. I don't know what area he was in, what it was called. But they were a tough crew.
Okay, great. Optable. Did you have any issues with guys that went away to the can in the 60s and got released in the early 80s? Problems with their new crew or bosses, businesses, old obligations they expected when they got out?
I really had no problem with guys like that. I knew a guy named Joey Senna, was a good friend of mine. He went to prison. He was gone for 15 years. When he got out, he came back to me. He had a drug problem when he went in. And in prison, I knew and found out that he was taking heroin. I wouldn't let him back into my crew, because not after seeing him for 15 years, I had no idea whether he was a junkie, an informant. I had no idea. So I pushed it off. I had an honest conversation with him. I told him, I have no idea what the fuck you are now, how you think, and I can't let you in my crew. Do the right thing, hang out in the neighborhood. I'll hear about things. I mean, if you have a problem with somebody, being I know you and I know your family all those years, I'll help you out with your problem, but you can't be a micro.
El Gato in the super chat, no question or comment, just a cup of coffee.
Thank you, El Gato.
Smokeless Choice is also in the super chat. Hey, Sammy, hope you're well. All the best. Peace.
Thank you.
You see, there's a couple more super chats that came in. Zeppelin Mar. Sammy, why did Gus, I don't know if this is spelled wrong or not, or if I pronounce it wrong, Scalfani?
Who?
Scalfani? Gus Scalfani?
Yeah.
Accuse Frankie DeCicco of being an informant. Didn't Gus realize that Frankie would ask Paul for permission to kill Gus if the charges were found to be untrue?
I don't know what he thought, but he did make an accusation like that. It wasn't true. His cousin was Joe Butch, and he figured he could make that without getting in trouble. But as soon as we took over, the first guy who was killed was him. Frankie DeCicco and Joe Watts killed him in Joe Butch's club. So, yeah, he made a tremendous mistake.
Let's see, there's another super chat from you guys and your names. I think it's Ineris. Is it true the Lucchese family used Arden Brotherhood to do murders in prison?
Oh.
I think they meant Aryan Brotherhood.
Wait, start the question over.
Okay, is it true the Lucchese family used Aryan Brotherhood to do murders in prison? Did any of the other families use prison gangs to do work in prison?
That happened on a few occasions. And the Aryan brothers were used. The Aryan brothers were a tough crew. In prison, everybody feared them. Every single one of them was a killer. And they did their murders in prison. They did have some people on the outside. When John Gotti had a problem with a black guy, they had a fight. The black guy beat him up. They fought twice. There's pictures of them all full of blood. John Gotti tried to hire the Aryan brothers to kill the guy who did it. The prison found out about it, transferred the black guy out of the prison, and he had sent them money for protection. I don't know why he needed protection or wanted protection, but that's not a good thing to do. I got to know the Aryan brothers good. My friend Cornfed was one of the Aryan brothers, and I was pretty solid with them, not in the same crew, but we knew each other. We were friends. I used to play chess with them all the time. And some of the Aryan brothers cooperated against the Aryan brothers and against John Gotti. John Gotti wasn't indicted on hiring them and paying them. He even offered them money to kill me when I got out. They didn't indict him on that case because he was dying. He was doing a life sentence, so they didn't bother indicting him. He was a co-conspirator on the case. And and I knew that because the Aryan brothers, like I said, I had a relationship with them, and they told me all about what happened and stuff, and his sister or his daughter sent money to Sumerian brothers' wives. And that's how they do it. So that they were used on occasion. For money, they would kill you.
Okay, I have El Gato in the super chat again. Salut, Sammy. Did a Cosa Nostra in New York buy any debts? If so, what was their end? Grazie.
Buy any debt? From how? From who? In what way?
El Gato, drop that in the chat. From who, why, and in what way? Okay, let me pass this over to Sterling, and then I will get back to more questions.
Thank you. Okay, I have a couple comments and questions. The first one is from Rube2424 on TikTok. He says, in your first meeting, do they meet at a bar or a club or just by association when you meet a guy for a first time?
It depends. The meeting could be anywhere, in a diner, in a club, in a restaurant, in the street, right in the street. You want to meet somebody. It depends on who it is and what you want to talk about, and if it's known, who they are. See, when I was on the street, you can't just say you want to meet with me. There'd have to be a reason. I will have to know who you are, why you want to meet with me, and then I would meet. Probably in my club. I was surrounded with my crew. And it depended on what the situation was. Certain situations, if you wanted to meet with me about drugs or stuff like that, I wasn't interested, so I didn't even recognize the meeting. I said no, to just tell them I'm not involved with drugs, I'm not interested. So it all depends on how the meeting comes about.
Yep, one of your TikTokers just said, meeting and greeting within reason.
Yes, exactly.
Another TikToker, Doom1337, would like to know if you have a documentary.
A documentary? Mm-hmm. I did a documentary on the case I got arrested on. The ecstasy case in Arizona. It's on HBO Max. You could watch that. I think it's still on. And I did it with my son and people, and I didn't do any other documentaries.
Kylie with Monarch Design says, Sammy's got to watch Tulsa King. Every time I watch it, it reminds me of you.
Yeah. I really don't watch. I watched a couple of episodes of Tulsa King. It didn't, it wasn't realistic as the Mafia goes. So, there was things in it. Some people like it, some people don't. I wasn't a fan of it. I saw a maid guy hit a captain right in front of the boss. That stuff like that don't happen. So the show, I lost interest in it.
Next question from Dylan Johnson. Who was the actual co-founder that started the mob?
I don't know. I'm old, but not that old. I don't know. It's too far back. Started in Sicily. It wasn't even the Mafia. It was clans. So it goes back hundreds of years. So I have no idea who started it. But it started in Sicily. They were invaded, and these clans got together and fought the people and who were invading, and it became the Mafia.
All right. Lori Love on TikTok says, random, but are you an early bird or a night owl?
I'm up and down all the time, so I don't know how to answer that. Sometimes I'm up late and sometimes I'm up early. So it depends on what time I go to bed and what happens.
Let's switch it over to Instagram. Millionaire Joe says, I always hear about Carlo Gambino, Chin Gigante, Joe Colombo, and Joe Bonanno, but I don't hear very much about Tommy Lucchese. Do you know much about him as a boss?
I really don't know too much about him. I mean, he was part of a plot to overthrow the commission, and this was way, way before my time. And it didn't succeed. So I think he was put on the back burner for, for what he was planning. Him and Joe Bonanno, both of them.
Hugh Tupman on TikTok says, good cologne recommendations to smell like a mobster. What do you guys like to wear?
We're working on a cologne now, a clothing line cologne. When I put out my cologne, save his name, I'll send you a bottle. It'll be a good cologne.
All right, I'll be sure to save him real quick. In the meantime, Sammy, what is the most money you've ever made in a year? This is from Ben on TikTok.
The most money I made in a year, a little over $1 million, and that's going back 50 years ago. So $1 million is not the same as it is now, but $1 million back then was an awful lot of money.
Rube has a follow-up question. How did you meet John Gotti for the first time, and what was that interaction like?
Yeah, well, I had a friend of mine who was in prison, and he got in trouble doing a drug deal. He beat some black guys, and they were going to hurt him. John Gotti was in prison. I didn't know him. Somebody told John Gotti, this guy who's going to get hurt is a friend of Sammy's. He really wasn't a good friend of mine. I knew the guy. John Gotti intervened and stopped it. When he got out and I was out of prison, he came to Frankie DeCicco's club. It's the first time I met him. He walked in with 4 or 5 guys, like he normally does. I was sitting at the bar with Frankie DeCicco's father, Boozy, who was a May guy in the same crew I was in. And he asked me, he says, did you ever meet or hear about this John Gotti? I said, I heard about him. He helped me out once, a friend of mine, and in prison, but I never met him. I says, he's a friend of ours, meaning a May guy. I was already a May guy. Boozy was a May guy. He said, no, not yet, but he will be. He came over. I bought him a drink. That's when I met him. I got made in 1976. I think John Gotti got made in 1977 or 78. So first time I met him, I was just made. It's probably 1976 in a club, Frankie DeCicco's club. There was a crap game in the back. He came in, we talked for a little while, then he went and go shoot crap in the back while I stood at the bar with Boozy. And then he got made, and I was seeing him and got more friendly with him. We became much closer friends. My father had died. He came to my father's funeral with a bunch of guys to show respect. When my mother died, he was at my mother's funeral as well. And we became very friendly.
Real quick, El Gato put clarification on his question about buying debt. What he meant was, has the mob ever had to, or was the mob ever paid to collect debt for anyone? So like, if someone owed debt, would the mob go and collect on that person's behalf and get a piece of it?
That could have happened, El Gato, but normally, why would you pay somebody to go collect your money? The mob is pretty tough. They got crews. I mean, they could send their own guys and go collect the debt themselves. I know I wouldn't pay anybody to collect my money. I would go collect it. Now, if somebody helped me collect it in some way, I would throw him something for sure. Maybe he had a better way of getting it. So if he gave it, if I was, let's say it's 10,000, and he could get the guy and get the money collected quick, yeah, of course I would throw him something. I'd throw him $1,000, $1,500 for doing me the favor. But I never went around looking for somebody to collect my money. I had my own people. I knew who I lent money to, and I knew where they were. So I went after them myself, or my crew.
Amy Duncan in your chat wants to say hello.
Who?
Amy. Amy Duncan, she's one of your fans, your viewers. She tunes in every week.
Yeah. Hi, Amy.
Jason wants a shout out.
Hey, Jason.
And JT says, hey, Sammy, just wanted to wish you the best of luck. Hope all is well with you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, bro.
Okay, back on to some more questions. Epic Drifter 76 says, hey, Sammy, do you have any good stories that you heard through the grapevine about Al Capone? And did you hear of anything about him having property in Tennessee?
There's so many stories about Al Capone. I mean, you see the movies, there's hundreds of stories. I found out later on in life that he was a bouncer, a tough guy, and he worked in a restaurant, Gargiulio's in Coney Island. That's how he got that scar on his face. He was in a fight. He was a real tough guy. Pain in the ass, he didn't listen too well. And he got chased out of New York. And they made him go to Chicago. I believe he got made in Chicago by the Sicilians, by the greaseballs. And he worked his way up and became the boss of the family. They loved him because they were fighting the Irish. And he went against the Irish in a very serious manner. Bombs, grenades, machine guns, all kinds of shit. So the Sicilians loved him. That was his main backing. In New York, he was chased. And then New York got to like him because they found out that he invented ways of making big money with unions. And the mob in New York didn't understand how was he making money with unions. Once all the explanations came back how he was making money using unions, creating unions, stuff like that, and making a ton of money, they learned from that. But he never came back to New York. He's never allowed back. So there's all kinds of stories, hundreds of stories about him. You could watch it everywhere. And most of them are true.
Back into your super chat, I have Eugene Kempson. Did you know Louis, I think it's Dedone, of the Lucchese family?
Louis Dedone.
Dedone.
Yeah, I know him. I know of him. I know him personally. I wasn't really friendly with him that much. He went away. But he was a good guy, tough guy. But I had very few dealings with him.
B. Ken in the super chat says, how did you protect yourself against bullies in prison?
Bullies in prison. I mean, it was known in prison. I wasn't a bully. I was respectful towards people, but I would hurt somebody if they did something with me. And I think when I got arrested with Joe Arpaio, I had cooperated. I was in that prison for a while. And some guy didn't want me when I came out of my cell to sit at their table. And he made statements about me, and I couldn't do anything about it. I was locked in. When they finally let me out that I was on lockout, he was a young guy. I went to the table. A friend of mine told me, sit down. I sat down. And he said, the kid said something about me sitting at the table. My friend went to get up. I put my hand on his leg. I said, I got this. Don't worry about it. He's right. He's right. Let me get up. I got up with my tray. When I got to the end of the table, I made the turn. Maybe he was a little embarrassed of what he said and did, but he put his head down. I hit him with the tray right in the face. And then when he went down, I was punching him and kicking him in the face. I half crippled him. I went to the hole because of that fight. When I came back out, I was back in that unit. The first thing I did when I came out of my cell, I was on the second tier. I yelled to the people who were in there, does anybody don't want me to sit at a table with them? And nobody said nothing. That's how you take care of a bully. You got to defend yourself in a tough way, in an awesome, vicious way. So they know if they're going to fuck with you, they better kill you. And that's how I dealt with it in prison. They knew that. Anybody who I did time with knew that. You're not going to bully me. I'm not going to accept it. You're better off killing me. So, and I think there's a lot of guys who carry themselves like that. There's guys you're just not going to bully the guy. You got to be, my friend Cornfed, you got to be crazy to try to bully him. But on occasion, somebody gets stupid enough to try that, and you got to show them where you're at.
I have Dancing Bear in the chat that says, "Hey, Sammy, did your parents ever find out you were involved in the mob?"
They kind of understood it a little bit. They never found out. I never told them. They would have been heartbroken. They were legitimate people. They knew people in the Mafia. My father came from Sicily. His Gravano was a made guy. And they never wanted me to be around that stuff. But when people started to meet me, when I grew in rank, my reputation, they would shake my hand, kiss me on the cheek. My father recognized, why are they doing that? And he asked me once or twice. And I told him, no, Dad, I got nothing to do with the mob. And he said, Sammy, I know better. I know back in Sicily, I've been dealing with it. I got my gumbata there. I know how they act. I see how they act towards you, how much respect you're getting. You just don't get that from those guys that easy. And I told him that. Take it from me, I wasn't involved. He was retired already, living in Long Island, so it really didn't matter. I didn't see him all the time. I stayed in New York, Brooklyn, and so.
I have Marco Perusa in the super chat. Did Canada have a big mob scene, like in Toronto?
They had a couple of different families that went there. Originally, there was a crew from Sicily that went there, and they're pretty vicious guys and tough guys. And then there was a crew from the Bonanno family who stood there. And after a while, they broke away from the Bonanno family, and they put their own boss in charge, a guy named Rizzuto. So there was a couple of crews out there, a couple of families. They were different than the American Mafia. They were into drugs heavy. They dealt with black gangs, bikers, different gangs that they would use and work very closely with them. So they handled themselves differently, and they departed from how the United States deals with it. And we didn't get involved with it. The only family who had any involvement with it at all was the Bonanno family.
Elgato's back in the super chat. Someone named Mimi from the Colombo family apparently insulted Don Carlo. What did he say exactly?
What was the question? What did he say? That's a guy named Mimi.
Yeah. He said,
I know him well.
He said apparently he insulted Don Carlo. What did he say exactly?
I don't know exactly what he said. I know there was a story, something about that, but he was eventually killed. He was killing people off the record without permission. He was really, really a tough guy. When he got a case with people, he would kill the other people that won the case so nobody could turn on him or do anything. After a while, they got enough of him, and they killed him. I think Mimi was involved in a guy, when we were young, with Rampers, before I was in the Mafia, a guy named Gemini. And I think this Mimi was one of the guys, him and his crew, killed Gemini. He was one of the Rampers, and Jimmy disrespected him, and he got killed for it.